And welcome to everybody. This is season 3, or series 3. I sound like a video clip here. Session 3, and this is the series of Maternity in the Midwifery Hour. My name's Sue Macdonald. I'm the curator of these hours and the Maternity and Midwifery Festival, and it's my pleasure to chair this evening. Many of you will know these sessions were designed in response to the COVID-19 pandemic last year. Really our whole aim was to provide continuing professional development for midwives, for student midwives, for people who want to become midwives, or actually for anyone who's engaged in maternity care, just as an hour, because it's more manageable than going to we can't go to face-to-face events at the moment anyway. And you need information and knowledge and a little bit of kind of intellectual space at the moment because things are so difficult. So huge thanks to Matflix, who look after the video streaming from maternity experts and hold all this revalidation, all these tapes and resources. And I have to say to you, anyone who's doing an essay or an assignment or trying to do their revalidation, this is the place to go to get your updated information. Fantastic resource. Now tonight it's my delight and pleasure to be joined by Joyce Adu-Amankwa, who's a specialist hemoglobinopathies midwife, and Emma Drasar, consultant hematologist, who are on the screen with me. Welcome, Emma and Joyce. Really pleased you're able to make it, and thank you so much for making the time to be with us this evening. And many of you will recall that Joyce joined us with Rachel Keseadi before Christmas, and that session had more of a focus on sickle cell and disorder. And tonight we're going to still be looking at hematological disorders and the screening and the care that these women and families need from us. But also we're going to really look at thalassaemia, which was a little bit of a poor relation last time round. So that's going to be Emma's job to do this evening. So thank you so much for coming. Now I'm going to put each person on the spot, as we always do, with a little moment of the week. So shall we start with Emma, with a moment of the week?
So about an hour before this session, I got a text from one of my registrars, and she's just had a baby, 9 pounds 3 ounces, little
Wow.
girl. Well, not so little girl. So quite a sizable first baby, very cute. So
wonderful.
Big congratulations to Jessie and her husband.
That's fantastic, and that's a lovely piece of news at such a difficult time, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Emma. How about Joyce? Have you got a moment to share?
A moment to share is about this COVID that is sort of gripping everybody's life. My auntie's husband was admitted to the hospital with a diagnosis, but today he's been discharged home.
Oh, wonderful. And that's such good news. That must be such
a relief.
Such joy to your heart, Joyce. Yeah. I'm so pleased. That's lovely. And I think that brings us on to the kind of section which we really highlight. I mean, we were brought here by COVID, and it's still going on, and it's a really difficult time. We're in our lockdown, and the kind of statistics and the images on media are so grim and difficult to see staff coping with this really difficult time and the pandemic, and still managing with such compassion and kindness. That's the tremendous thing that we're all seeing on our TV screens and also hearing on the radio. The infections are still high. They've gone down a little bit, but the numbers of people in the hospital are still very high. And I think today was the highest rate of deaths so far, and that for every person who's died, that's a whole family and their friends left without someone very precious. And we must remember that, and remember also to think about the future, where we're going to have to support all of those members of staff going through this, whether they're in the intensive care, the high dependency, whether they're working mortuary area, whether they're working in the accident emergency department. They're going to be incredibly stressed and damaged by this whole event, and we're going to need to really think about ways we can all support each other. I always think of the NHS as a big family, and we're showing how strong we can be, but we're going to have to be stronger for a bit longer, and we're going to have to also show each other care and compassion, and ourselves as well. I think that's incredibly important. Also, so now I will say a huge thank you to those A&E departments, to the intensive cares and high dependency units who are working flat out, more than flat out. They're so busy, and we must send love and thanks to them for all that they're doing, and good wishes to them, but also their families and their friends, because they're living through it as well, and we can't forget that. And a huge also, and I always say this, but a virtual hug and thanks to those providing maternity care, maybe not overtly in the front line of COVID, but many women are suffering COVID also. As we always say, you can't cancel pregnancy and childbirth, things have to carry on. And I know that from my colleagues that care is carrying on, and the quality of the care is still very high, and still, as I said before, has that love and compassion, which is so important. So healing thoughts to those who are suffering from COVID or long COVID, and good wishes to anyone who's being affected at the moment. And a big thank you also to any of the key workers from the health service through to everybody who's keeping the country going and keeping us going and safe and well looked after. Moving on to, and that feels very heavy, I know, and many of you who are listening will feel it's very heavy, but we'll move on to a few other things, little bits of news. I suppose the biggest news is the inauguration of the President of the US, which has happened this afternoon. So congratulations to President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. How fantastic to have a woman, and a woman of color, as a vice president. That's fantastic, and it warmed the heart. Such a good event to see. Different, but it would be at this time. Other things that are going on, it's there was a launch of the RCM Maternal Emotional Health and Infant Wellbeing and Infant Development, and these resources and some of the references that are referred to this evening will be on the resource list online afterwards, and this one is there too. Very good webinars, accessible to people. You can access them anytime if you're a member as well. And you'll all know the vaccinations are well underway. Many of you will have had a vaccination. And for those of you who haven't yet, it won't be long till that happens for you. So that's great. We're over 4 million, which is fantastic. Just again shows how fantastic the NHS is. Other news, the Embrace report has been launched. That's also on the resource page. Still disparity between the number of Black and Asian women dying in comparison to white women, but actually the rates have gone down a little bit. So it's still a report that we all need to read and we all need to take on board in our care. This week, Cervical Cancer Prevention Week. So just remind any women you know, if they've not had their smear test, go off and have it. It's also National Healthy Weight Week. I thought that was an interesting one for everybody. So reduce those chocolates and those naughty biscuits at this time. The trouble is that's a very soothing thing to have, isn't it? And for a little frivolity, it's National Penguin Awareness Day today. There you are. Yeah, you didn't know that, did you? And also, I want to wish a happy birthday to Professor Leslie Page, who will be known to many of you who had a birthday this week. And that's the kind of the news that we have. Again, a lot of this stuff is on the resources page. So do access this after, because you're not going to have time, because while Joyce and Emma are speaking, you're not going to want to miss a moment of this. So this week, okay, we're doing hematological disorders in pregnancy and care, and this is about the screening and the testing through that. And we'll start with Joyce Adu-Amankwa, specialist hemoglobinopathies midwife, and she provides antenatal care for pregnant women with hemoglobinopathy disease and offers counselling and further screening for couples who are at risk of having a baby affected by major hemoglobinopathies. And she's been doing that since 2015, probably longer if I know Joyce, because that's probably an interest deep in her. So for those of you who want to know more about either Joyce or Emma, their CVs are in full on the website, but I want to give as much time as possible to both Joyce and Emma. So Joyce, the screen is now yours. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching this video from the Maternity and Midwifery Forum. For more expert opinion and analysis, hit the button below to subscribe.